Total War Shogun is the first Total War game in the ever-growing Total War franchise. Taking place between the start dates of around 1530 and 1580, not including the Mongol invasion campaign, it tries to simulate the wars, battles, diplomacy, and governing of a feudal Japanese nation during the age of the samurai. In this review, I'll be taking a look at the functions of the different start dates, including the Mongol invasion, as it is included in the gold edition of Total War Shogun. Anyways, video cliche, let's get into it already. The notable exception of the Mongol invasion campaign, Shogun has the following start dates: 1530, 1550, and 1580. 1530, for some reason, is used twice. It has a completely different faction layout. The main start date I'll be basing the game on, since it seems to be the intended grand campaign mode, is the Sengoku Jidai. Factions in this game are disappointing at best. Each start date has 7 playable factions, apart from 1530, which only has 6. It's worth mentioning that for some reason, the Rebel faction is on the list, but you can't actually play as them. The game makes it appear as though there are 7 to 8 factions to play as, yet there aren't. Anyways, the factions also have very little flavor. Sure, there's some text when you choose one about their history and starting position, but generally factions don't have any traits or special abilities. Really, the only difference between factions is where they start and how many units they have at the beginning, and that hurts the replayability quite a lot. Elaborating more on the faction starting position, one major flaw was pointed out to me immediately. Instead of having some form of difficulty setting, they make each faction start out with a select amount of units to increase the level of expertise to play each nation. Generally, this isn't a bad thing. Multiple other Total War games have countries that are inherently hard to play as. Yet, with how this game functions, it seems to just make the game play out the same no matter what. Factions don't have any special abilities, so inherently the same factions, at least in my playtime, always prevail. There is a system to ensure a fluid game, and it hurts the overall experience when you can predict what is going to happen. Somewhat of a staple of more recent Total War games is the civic governance aspect. You must manage your cities in order to ensure the inner workings of your country are stable, allowing you to keep strong and ensuring your competitiveness on the map. There's also a factor of trade, alliances for more trade, and keeping a stable income. The problem Shogun has with its economics and administration is that it's incredibly shallow. Holding down shift, you can see the happiness of your cities. If your cities are unhappy, you can build one of the select few buildings to raise your happiness or change your tax rate. The problem with tax rates in Shogun is that they don't appear to be provincial like its predecessors. It's national. This means that one unhappy city can completely tank your economy. A massive empire could get crushed by the revolts of just a few cities, because without the income from your towns, you can't build improvements or military units. This discourages any form of expanding in some areas, and can be a real pain later on in the game. There's also no titles or government slots to increase aspects of your country. Just plain old buildings and tax rates. That's it. Overall, Shogun does not excel in managing your country. It doesn't allow for much opportunity at all. It is, however, quite noob friendly, yet tanks the replay value of the game. Diplomacy is yet another area where Shogun struggles. There really isn't much diplomacy whatsoever. There's a faction tab allowing you to see who is allied to who, the ability to declare war, and a shallow spying system with your emissaries and ninjas. Overall, very simplistic and boring. Now, for the core gameplay, what can make or break a Total War game: the battle and war systems. I'm pleased to say Shogun has a battle system that holds up to modern day scrutiny. Well, kinda. The combat itself is pretty decent. Units will fight one another with pretty solid animations for the most part. It's still a fun experience to watch them battle. The controls in general, however, are a bit jarring. The camera controls feel still and out of place, and the unit movements feel odd. I do like how right-clicking units pops up a menu, though. Also, the pathfinding for units is awful. God forbid a small forest is in the way, because at that point you might as well have just tried to walk through bricks. Units will occasionally get stuck in just really odd places. Even if you try and free them, some of them are just stuck there forever. In addition, when starting a battle, the enemy could be in a completely weird position. In this clip, I sent my army looking for a solid 20 minutes. When I finally found the enemy, my units were tired and lost. Bad. This issue is mainly magnified with the fact that there's invisible walls if you deviate too far from the unit you've selected. No way to really tell by the minimap where the enemies are either. The units themselves are disappointing. There's really only 5 or 6 units you'll be seeing throughout the game and using yourself, maybe with a slight variety. Not really any faction-specific units either, so it'll be the same experience every single time. The Black Sheep campaign I haven't covered yet. Mongol Invasion. This is, by far, the most fun I've had playing Shogun. Mongol Invasion is great. You can either play as a united Japan trying desperately to defend against the hordes of Mongols invading. On the contrary, you can play as the Mongols, using your vast units to try and overrun the experienced Japanese army while managing your captured territories. This mode really gives off the feeling of total war. The massive battles, the hopeless defenses, and struggle to maintain positions is immense fun, and the scale is truly awe-inspiring. There was one battle, shown to you now, where a massive Mongolian force attacked my garrison. I was outnumbered, yet using superior tactics I managed to cheese them with better infantry and arrow barrages. Between those factors and my use of cavalry, a battle that should have been chaos was a tremendous victory for me, securing southern Japan's safety. I could make an entire video of this alone. Another battle. The early arriving Mongolian army had managed to attack a very small force in a province ahead. Trying to secure some sort of satisfaction, I desperately commanded my units to secure the bridge. Beating the Mongols there, I set up my infantry and prepared to fight. My crossbows behind the infantry pummeled the bridge units as my infantry held the line. Eventually, however, the Mongolian force was too overwhelming. My units routed and fled the battlefield. I had lost the battle. If anything, this mode is worth getting the game for alone. It doesn't have too much replay value, but it is incredibly fun. I know I was pretty critical of the game, but I did still really enjoy it. However, apart from the Mongolian invasion, it really doesn't live up to the later games in the entry. Once again, my review is based on my personal experience. If I missed a mechanic in the game or think my perspective is unfounded, please let me know. Anyways, time for my arbitrary rating out of 10. Total War Shogun gets a... Mongolian invasion was what prevented this from getting like a 4 or lower. Buy for the Mongols if you have some spare cash and it's on sale, I guess. There really isn't much diplomacy whatsoever. There's a faction tab allowing you to see who is allied to who, the ability to declare war, and a shallow sniping system